Namaste and good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and all our esteemed dignitaries. I am Kavya R. Chavali, and I welcome you all to this wonderful initiative of Silf to recognize the significant role played by the general councils in the corporate sector of India. Now, these general councils are the heads of legal departments of the multinational companies, along with the top and emerging global businesses and houses of India. Now, I do believe that technology and telecom has got us all connected with each other to welcome all of you at the same time to witness this Gala Awards function. And today at the program, we are truly delighted and privileged to have the presence of our chief guest, Honorable Minister Shri Hardeep S. Puri, Union Minister of State, Independent Charge for Housing and Urban Affairs, Union Minister of State, Independent Charge for Civil Aviation, and Union Minister of State for Commerce and Industry. And he has graciously agreed to present the awards to the leading general counsels as selected by the jury. I'd also like to inform our members of the audience that we are also joined by the leading luminaries of the legal fraternity on the screen right here. We have with us Dr. Lalit Bhasin, President of Society of Indian Law Firms, and the members of the jury, Mr. Jyoti Sagar, Chairperson of J. Sagar and Associates, Mr. Rohit Kochar, Chairman, Kochar & Co., Mr. Rajiv Luthra, Founder and Managing Partner, Luthra & Luthra Law Offices, Mr. Manoj Singh, Founder Chairman of Singh & Associates, and Mr. Rajiv Chopra, Managing Director, Legal, Accenture. Now, before we begin with the program, may I also please request Mrs. Meena Gupta Bhasin, the Chairperson, Delhi Chapter of Silf, to also make the virtual presentation of the bouquet to welcome our Honorable Minister to this grand evening. Thank you very much, ma'am. And thank you once again, sir, for joining us this evening. With that, it's now time to set the tone for the program, for which may I please request Dr. Lalit Bhasin, President, Society of Indian Law Firms, to please present the welcome remarks. I must admit that I'm not really giving any introduction about Dr. Lalit Bhasin, as his name and his reputation is known throughout India and overseas in the legal and business circles. So ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Lalit Bhasin.
Thank you, Kavya. Honorable Minister Shri Hardeep Singh Puri, the jury members, Mr. Jyoti Sagar, Mr. Rohit Kochar, Mr. Rajiv Luthra, Mr. Rajiv Chopra, Mr. Manoj Singh, and Dr. Ashok Sharma, who is the founder chair of FICL. Akriti Raizada, distinguished General Counsel, Silf office bearers and members, and the invitees. It is a privilege to have the gracious presence of the Honorable Minister among us today. Our Prime Minister Modi has rightly reposed great faith and confidence in Mr. Puri by allocating three very important portfolios, that is the independent charge of housing and urban development and aviation, and as Minister of State for Commerce and Industry. Mr. Hardeep Singh Puri is an illustrious, gifted, dedicated, and committed citizen of India and has an excellent track record as a seasoned bureaucrat and a diplomat. Silf's connection with Honorable Minister goes back to 2009-2010 when he was India's permanent representative to the United Nations and based in New York. I was leading a delegation of Silf, for the first time a delegation which had been invited by the American Bar Association to visit New York, and at the invitation of the American Bar Association. My friend Rajiv Luthra and I approached Mr. Puri for a meeting in New York and a visit to the United Nations. And what a pleasant surprise that Mrs. Puri and Honorable Minister, now that time Mr. Puri, he invited the entire delegation for a sumptuous lunch at his residence facing the United Nations, and which was personally supervised and arranged by Mrs. Puri. How can one forget, you see, this association with the Honorable Minister? And after that, after his tenure was over as a diplomat and he came back to India, we have been in touch. We can never forget, you see, the gestures which he has shown, and we have kept contact with him. And whenever we have requested, you see, for any meetings, he has been very generous with his times. And particularly for today's event, when I requested, you see, him that he should, as a minister holding three very important portfolios which have a direct interconnection with the functioning of the law firms and the general counsel, he very graciously agreed. Honorable Minister and friends, today's awards function is Silf's way of paying tribute to our country's finest legal minds, that is, the General Counsel and the in-house counsel. It is culmination of a 2 months long research process that began with the nominations from the law firms and from the Federation and legal era. There are no categories or winners or runners up in the presentation of these awards. Everyone is a winner as they represent creme de la creme of the general counsel for their respective corporates. They have received many awards and accolades in the past, but this recognition by the peers will, I am sure, have special significance for them. I thank the supporting organization, Legal Era and FICL, and I once again welcome everyone to this unique event which is being held for the first time. Thanks a lot. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much indeed for sharing your warm words and your dynamic thoughts with all of us. With that, ladies and gentlemen, may I now invite Mr. Jyoti Sagar, chairperson of J. Sagar and Associates, one of India's topmost law firms recognized globally, to please share the relevance of these awards and the recognition for these recipients.
Honorable Minister, Mr. Lalit Bhasin and friends, good evening. Almost half a century back, I started interning with a law firm while I attended the evening law classes. Then we never heard of a designation general counsel. Well, not, at least in India. A company would have a law officer or a law manager who typically reported to the company secretary or at times to the chief financial officer. It is only post-liberalization, and more so in the last 15 years, that the GC role has been well established and better understood. There has been a remarkable transition from a law officer or a law manager to a wise counselor and conscience keeper of the corporation, and is part of the leadership team reporting to the board. Historically, we know that the GC role actually pioneered in the US, and it's been over the last 50 to 60 years with cycles of corporate failures and resulting corporate governance and oversight regulations that the role of the general counsel evolved. In India, the GC role is something which largely multinationals brought in, and over the years, it has been embraced and adopted by domestic corporates. Today, many GCs are now leading teams which are larger than many of our Indian law firms. To understand and appreciate the role of a GC, I think we should look at the backdrop. Globally, businesses have become much more competitive. And over the last few decades, it's really gone very complex. The fourth industrial revolution is driven by digital technology and artificial intelligence, is rightfully called disruptive. Businesses have to be high performing, nimble, and flexible in this very disruptive environment. High performance means strong, sustained economic growth through provision of superior goods and services, which in turn provide durable benefits for shareholders and other stakeholders upon whom the company's health depends. Corporations are now required to act in best interests of not just shareholders, but of multitude of stakeholders. Performance entails an essential balance between risk-taking and risk management. High integrity means robust adherence to letter and spirit of formal rules, both legal and financial, voluntary adoption of global ethical standards that bind the corporation and its employees, and commitment to core values of honesty, candor, fairness, trustworthiness, and reliability. And here is where the GC comes in. The foundational goals of the modern corporation should be the fusion of high performance with high integrity and sustainability. The ideal of the modern general counsel is a lawyer statesman who's an excellent lawyer, a wise counselor who has a major role in assisting the corporation achieve that fundamental fusion. But the fusion of high performance with high integrity is not just about risk management. It is about creating affirmative benefits to the corporation in the marketplace and in the broader global society. Ultimately, high performance with high integrity creates the fundamental trust among stakeholders, employees, customers, suppliers, the general public, regulators, and communities. This trust is essential to sustain economic growth with widespread economic and social benefits, and it has dramatically, unfortunately, eroded over the last 15 years due to many stark corporate scandals and unthinkable business failures. So today, GCs operate in that complex environment with multitude of responsibilities. They have to build a great legal team to solve many legal problems that the corporation faces, leading in building an integrity infrastructure that embeds into business operations formal legal requirements and companies' ethical rules, leading role in defining and implementing ethical standards beyond what the formal legal requirement is. So this is moving from is it legal to is it right? Leading role in fostering employee awareness, knowledge, and commitment to a high performance with high integrity culture. Leading in the development and implementation of companies' position in public policy matters. Being part of the crisis management teams, responding to investigations, lawsuits, product problems, and what have you. I do not envy your role, GCs. We as external advisors get away most times by providing mere legal advice. But you folks, you are in the trenches. You do not provide mere legal advice, but being part of the business team, you deal with hard task of providing advice with business orientation and accountability. We salute you for what you do. My congratulations to all the awardees. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Jyoti Sagar, sir, for very passionately sharing your thoughts with regard to the inception of the whole role of the General Counsel for that matter. And thank you very much, sir, for joining us this evening and sharing your valuable words. With that, may I now invite on board to share his thoughts on this momentous occasion we have with us, Mr. Rajiv Luthra, again a name familiar to the international legal community, and he heads the law firm L&L Associates, having presence all over the country. So if I may please invite Mr. Rajiv Luthra to please address the gathering.
Thank you. Honorable Minister Shri Hardeep Puri, my lords, my ladyships, Mr. Bhasin, Mrs. Bhasin, judges of this event, awardees, and friends. The days of lawyers joining as in-house counsel because they could not land a law firm job or a chamber job are far gone. Now, being an in-house counsel is as coveted, if not more, as a law firm or a chamber job. I lay special emphasis on the North Star, the Dhruva, because that is precisely how I perceive the General Counsel of today. Not merely the instructor to law firms, but the real navigator of corporate entities. General counsels are reconfiguring the boundaries and expanding the expectations of what is meant to be an effective corporate lawyer. Superior judgment, persuasion, integrity, and chutzpah are all hallmarks of great lawyers. I've had the good fortune of personally working with most of you and can without a doubt vouch for each of your expertise and legal skills. Safe to say, our country's legal landscape and its future and development are all in safe hands. Like I said, as recently as 1990, the General Counsel was a lawyer equivalent of a roadie to the law firm partner Rockstar. A trinity of powerful macroeconomic forces, globalization, technology, and global financial crisis changed the way corporations conduct business and accelerated the metamorphosis of a general counsel role to what it is today. Jyoti explained a large part of the in-house counsel's rules. I can't add beyond that what he said, but I'll tell you all, you are at the epicenter of this change, operating at the intersection of law, business, and technology. Delivery of legal services and business of law has emerged as a powerful industry force, an integral component of corporate legal departments. I salute your integrity, intelligence, and energy that has led you to excel in your roles and for your support and contribution to the development of your respective organizations. As today, GCs are collaborators, integrators, and business advocates. They are just not lawyers anymore. For those of my friends here, unfortunately, you did not make it to the list. Remember, Rome was not built in a day. You will get there with your perseverance, dedication, relentless zeal to excel, and my congratulations are all the more heartfelt and sincere for you, my learned friends, as you're all learning and growing, evolving each day. That's the trick to success, as I believe, and change is the only constant, because that's what keeps you going day after day. It is imperative that the in-house counsels be given due recognition by the bar, the bench, and the bar council. Rights of audience, counsel-client privilege, no suspension of certificate of practice, etc., etc., etc. I can go into it long term, but there's a bully here amongst us and a light vein, Mr. Lalit Bhasin, who shut me off. So very quickly, heartiest congratulations again to each one of you as well as the entire fraternity, together, we all wish each of you continued success and many more recognitions. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Luthra, for those powerful words of leadership that you've shared with us all. With that, I now have the great pleasure in presenting to you one of the topmost General Counsel of the global organization Accenture, Mr. Rajiv Chopra. He's the Managing Director Legal of Accenture in India, and he's also the member of the jury that has selected the recipients for the awards today. So if I may please invite Mr. Rajiv Chopra to please share his words with us all.
Thank you. Honorable Shri Hardeep Puri, Dr. Bhasin, Mr. Jyoti Sagar, dear Rajiv and dear Rohit. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, first up, let me thank you all for making time and joining this historical event. I say that because it is for the first time that the Silf is recognizing the stellar role of General Counsel and in-house counsel in the development of business, trade and commerce, and also adding to the luster of legal profession. Special thanks to Silf for conceptualizing this event and giving all of us an opportunity to be part of this event and spend some time together, and also giving me the honor to be a part of the jury. What a remarkable journey it has been for the evolution of the role of in-house counsel and the importance of general counsel on leadership tables of corporates and its boards. I was noting some of the points that the speakers before me said. The word you used, Dr. Bhasin, was it's a tribute to general counsel. I think that's a very big word. So that speaks volumes of how now mainstream legal profession thinks about the role and importance of legal profession of general counsel. Mr. Sagar, I don't think anybody could have articulated the role and evolution and its importance so well. What you said is so true that, and rightly so, there's no wrong with that. Law firms merely provide legal advice, but we as general counsel have to be accountable and provide solutions, right? And sometimes take risk-based decisions and help company move forward with business. Otherwise, we won't be able to do business, right? Especially with the complex regulatory regime of our country. Mr. Luthra, you made a very pertinent point as well about times when people who could not succeed in mainstream profession like in law chambers or law firms used to become in-house counsel, but we've moved from that time, right? It is now a profession of choice. When I joined the profession, like everyone did at the time, it was 92, 93, I joined the chamber in the High Court and then moved to a law firm. And that seemed like a more direct and logical way of going about this profession of law. At that time, if I knew the landscape well enough, there were very few in-house lawyers, and it used to be mostly, either company secretaries doubling up an in-house counsel, and like Mr. Sagar said, lawyers reporting into company secretaries and chief financial officers, and so on. And there were only a handful, not unlike today, where we have hundreds of very credible in the legal profession of general counsel, and some of them are superstars, many of them being acknowledged today. And also I have to say this, that, I've seen this evolution from my eyes, and I've seen the importance of in-house counsel evolve and gain equal importance as some of the mainstream corporate functions in corporates like finance and HR. When I began this journey, legal wasn't there, but now it is perhaps even more important. At this time, when ethics and compliance is so important to businesses, in-house counsel obviously play a hugely important role. Many of us now even sit on business decisions, not only legal, and help with the solutioning for business models and business propositions. And many of us are now beginning to head businesses. One of the examples is the General Counsel for Accenture, Ms. Julie Sweet, is now our Chief Executive Officer. And this is just one example, and there are many more such GCs, even in India. One more point that I want to make is that our roles are increasing beyond borders. Many of us now do global roles, not only India General Counsel role. And many of us help offshore lawyers do their work, a testament of the competence of our in-house lawyers. In Accenture, we have 450 lawyers. I think you made this point, Mr. Sagar. That's probably a good sized law firm operating within Accenture. And majority of those 450 people are actually helping lawyers onshore, like in more developed countries like US and UK, do their work from India. And that just speaks volumes of how sort of we have come from strength to strength. While I congratulate all, I conclude by saying that we need to work towards a more formal recognition of this trade of in-house by Bar Council, the government, and judiciary. Towards that, I want to mention 3 initiatives that are helping with this, and I'm part of all 3. One is the CIS Subcommittee of In-House Lawyers, which Dr. Basini graciously helped us form. And one of the agendas is to present a white paper on the need to recognize this profession. Number 2 is the Federation of Indian Corporate Lawyers, which provides a national forum for exchange of information, experience sharing, and exchange of knowledge within the Indian corporate legal community, and strives to enhance the recognition of corporate legal lawyers amongst larger legal fraternity in India. And the third, a new initiative, formation, which is the General Counsel Association. You will hear more about it in days to come. Thank you, Silf, again, for institutionalizing the recognition of General Counsel. Thank you all for attending the function today. Stay safe. Over to you.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Chopra, for sharing across the entire role and responsibilities, the way it's cascaded over the years with regard to the General Counsel, or for that matter, even the legal fraternity. With that now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the most awaited moment of the program. It's the awards. In fact, I'd like to inform you all that all the recipients today have immensely contributed towards the fraternity with their astute leadership, and this day, in fact, is all about celebrating them. The awards are also being presented in the alphabetical order of the names of the recipients. In fact, a trophy and a certificate is being presented through a virtual mode by our Honorable Minister, while the real trophy and the original certificate will also be couriered by Silf to all the awardees. Well, as you can notice, we are making the most out of the virtual avatar that we're all connecting through, but the emotions and the celebrations are absolutely real. I'd also inform that the contents of all the certificates are identical, since the categories of all the awardees is namely General Counsel and In-House Counsel. So I'll just probably take a minute to also read out the contents of the certificate for all of you. The contents reads such as: Society of Indian Law Firm honoring legal excellence. This certificate of recognition is presented to by the Honorable Minister, Shri Hardeep S. Puri, Union Minister of State, Independent Charge for Housing and Urban Affairs, Union Minister of State, Independent Charge for Civil Aviation, and Union Minister of State for Commerce and Industry for outstanding services to the corporate sector and promoting international business, trade, and commerce, presented on Friday, 2nd July 2021, signed by Dr. Lalit Bhasin, the President, Society of Indian Law Firms. So these are the contents of the certificates that will also keep flowing in as and when we announce the names of the recipients. Further, I'd like to also request, due to paucity of time, we may not be able to hear the individual responses of all of our recipients. However, we have requested Ms. Neena Gupta, General Counsel Interglobe, to respond on behalf of all the awardees. Now, post the awards presentation, our chief guest, Shri Hardeep S. Puri, will also address all our members of the gathering. Let me remind you all that the jury is chaired by Dr. Lalit Bhasin, and the other members of the jury are Mr. Jyoti Sagar, Mr. Rohit Kochar, Mr. Rajiv Luthra, Mr. Manoj Singh, founder chairman of Singh & Associates, Mr. Rajiv Chopra, and Dr. Ashok Sharma, founder chairman of FCIL. So with that, it's now time to begin with the awards presentation, and I do hope all of you who are sitting at the comfort of your homes will be cheering for these recipients with your smiles and, of course, with a round of applause. So with that, let's begin the first awardee for the evening, and let's hear it for Mr. Deepak Acharya, General Counsel, Wipro Limited. Mighty congratulations indeed to Mr. Deepak Acharya. Well, on that note, let the applause continue, ladies and gentlemen, as we move on to announce the next awardee, Amit Atre, General Counsel, Mercedes-Benz India Private Limited. Huge congratulations to Mr. Amit. And with that, let the smiles only widen as we move forward to announce Mr. Rakesh Mohan Bakshi, Vice President, Legal and Associate General Counsel, Amazon. Congratulations again, Mr. Bakshi. And with that, let the inspiration only continue as we move on to announce the next awardee, Miss Pooja Bedi, Head of Legal, Indian Subcontinent, Philips. Congratulations, Ms. Pooja. Well, it's time to announce the next awardee for the evening, Ms. Sahiba Chaid, Vice President and Senior Counsel, Marriott International. Congratulations to Ms. Sahiba. I know it may seem that we are going back to back, but let the applause not stop, and let's hear it for Bhaskar Chandran, Group President, Legal and General Counsel, GMR. Once again, congratulations to you, Mr. Bhaskar. Well, it looks like we're enjoying the confetti, we're enjoying the fanfare, so let it just continue as we now announce for Mr. Chetan Chopra, Director Legal, Flipkart. Congratulations, Mr. Chopra. Well, it's time to sail through to announce our next awardee. In fact, let's hear it, ladies and gentlemen, for Mr. P.N. Devaya, Group General Counsel, Adani Group. Congratulations, Mr. Devaya. And with that, let's move forward to also announce the names of those who are immensely contributing towards the fraternity. Let's hear it for Shashwata Datta, Executive Director, Legal and Special Counsel, Goldman Sachs. Congratulations to you, Mr. Datta. Well, moving on, let's march ahead, ladies and gentlemen, and our next awardee this evening, Nagendra Pal Goel, Executive Director, Legal and Company Secretary, Ingram Micro India Private Limited. again to you, Mr. Goel. Well, they often say that teamwork makes dream work. And on that note, it's also time to hear out the names that are spearheading these beautiful teams with a lot of passion and dynamism. Let's move forward and let's hear it for Miss Neena Gupta, General Counsel, Interglobe Enterprise. Congratulations to you, Ms. Neena. Well, moving on, our next awardee for this evening. Let's put our hands together and let's have a dynamic round of applause for Sapan Gupta, Global General Counsel, ArcelorMittal Group. Congratulations to you, sir. Congratulations once again. And let's move forward, ladies and gentlemen, and let's hear it for our next awardee. Sameer Hussain, General Manager Legal, Aditya Birla Finance. I believe Mr. Sameer has definitely joined us in, so we hope all of us are coming together to applaud for him once again. And with that, let's move forward and let's hear it for Suresh M.S. Jagadar, General Counsel, Hero Motorcorp Limited. Congratulations, sir. With that, it's time to, in fact, accelerate forward towards our next awardee. And let's hear it for Ms. Sheetal Kapoor, Director, Legal, Transactions and Technology, Netflix. Congratulations once again, Sheetal. So what it looks like, it's time to have an entertaining round of applause, and let's move forward to hear it for Ajay Kapoor, Chief Legal, Regulatory and Policy Advocacy, Tata Power. So that means it's also time for another powerful round of applause. Let's hear it for Miss Mansi Khanna, Chief Manager Law, National Fertilizer Limited, a mini Ratna company. Congratulations to you. And moving forward, ladies and gentlemen, let's also widen our smiles and let's also fill our applause with a lot of power. Let's hear it for Miss Shraddha Malhotra, Senior Legal Counsel, Asia Pacific, Avery Dennison.
Dropped out.
All right. So I believe Ms. Shraddha hasn't been able to join us. So let's move forward and let's hear it for the next name for the evening. We're about to announce for Delvin Matthews, Director, Legal and Compliance, Boehringer Ingelheim India Private Limited. Congratulations to you, Mr. Delvin. As we march ahead, it's an evening as we come together to celebrate and to applaud. Let's hear it for Mr. S.B. Mathur, General Manager, Law, Steel Authority of India Limited, a Maharatna company. Congratulations to you, sir. Well, moving forward, let's hear it from Mr. Rajendra Mishra, Executive Vice President and General Counsel, the Indian Hotels Company Limited, Taj Hotels. congratulations to you, Mr. Mishra. And well, let's move forward and let's also keep that applause going. Let's keep the momentum and the energy going forward. Let's hear it for Mr. Santosh Parab, General Counsel, L&T Finance. Congratulations once again, Mr. Santosh. It is indeed wonderful as we announce all these pioneering names. So let's move forward and let's hear it for Mr. H.S. Rajpal, Chief General Manager, Law, Corporate Office, Indian Oil Corporation Limited, New Delhi, a Maharatna company. Congratulations once again, sir. As we're almost inching closer and closer, let's now hear it for the next name, ladies and gentlemen, and let's put our hands together for Mr. Sanjeev Sachdeva, Head Legal Imar India Limited. Hearty congratulations to you, Mr. Sanjeev. Well, let's move forward, ladies and gentlemen, and let's hear it for Amit Shetye, General Counsel, Global Infrastructure Partners. Mighty congratulations, sir. As we move forward, let's put our hands together and let's hear it for Kartikeya Singh, Head of Legal India Credit, Bearing Private Equity, Asia. Congratulations once again, sir. And as you can all notice, we are announcing it in the alphabetical order, and we're moving on to the penultimate name and the penultimate awardee this evening. So let's hear it for Salal Sinha, Head Legal, Gujarat Fluorochemicals Limited. Hearty congratulations to you, Mr. Salal.
Thank you.
And finally, ladies and gentlemen, as we talk about the awardees, as we honor our awardees this evening, as we felicitate them, one last time, let's have a huge round of applause for our final awardee this evening, Ms. Bhamini Vishwanath, Group General Counsel, TVS Supply Chain Solutions, Chennai. Congratulations to you, ma'am. Well, I believe we have come towards the end of the awards presentation, and I hope all of you have been cheering for all these amazing and inspiring names that we have announced this evening. However, I do believe that we would have loved to hear from all of our recipients as well, but due to paucity of time, we have also requested Ms. Neena Gupta, General Counsel, Interglobe, to please share her thoughts on behalf of all the recipients. So if I might please invite Ms. Neena Gupta. Yes, ma'am. If I may please request you to please share your thoughts with the gathering on behalf of the recipients.
Neena, you're on mute.
Neena, ma'am, I hope you're not on mute.
Yeah, good evening.
Yes, ma'am.
Honorable Minister, Dr. Bhasin, members of the jury, members of the legal fraternity, and most importantly, friends and families of the awardees. I consider it my distinct privilege to be able to express a note of thanks and gratitude on behalf of all the awardees of this prestigious recognition accorded by the Society of Indian Law Firms. There is perhaps no greater honor than to be recognized by colleagues and seniors who are all excellent lawyers, mentors, and are working tirelessly every day to bring excellence in their respective fields of law. Thank you, Mr. Sagar and Mr. Luthra, for your salute to the General Counsels and acknowledging the difficulty of our role. As Jyoti rightly mentioned, it was not too long ago that some commonly held perceptions about the legal function took root, which became accepted wisdom down the years. Most functions in corporates would say legal is just reactive. They are not proactive. People would normally say it stifles innovation and creativity. Being highly conservative in their outlook, it seeks to mitigate risk and liability regardless of organization's priority and strategic goals. To sum up, legal seemed disconnected from the organization as a whole. An event recognizing the contribution of excellence by in-house counsels in corporate law is testimony to the sea change in the role of the corporate counsel in India from a mere legal manager, cost center, and gatekeeper to trusted advisors to the chief executive officers, promoters, and the board of companies. It's an acknowledgement that most senior in-house counsel is part of the C-suite now. It recognizes the expanded job description, increased responsibility, and complex challenges the role holder is taking on. The list of awardees tonight includes senior legal executives of both Indian promoted and multinational companies, making the legal profession in corporates as an important contributor to building businesses and upholding the ethical and governance standards in corporate India. I also thought that on behalf of the awardees, I wanted to give a perspective to some young lawyers about the shift in the legal in-house role and its evolution. In the coming months and years, billions more people will be joining the online, using billions more network devices, accessing billions more terabytes of digital data. The Internet of Things, cryptocurrencies, and artificial intelligence is here to stay and will challenge lawmakers and legal advisors for decades to come. As for in-house lawyers themselves, evidence suggests that their role will continue to evolve and expand. At the same time, as the cost of running a legal function increases, more will be demanded of their teams from ever-tightening budgets. However, influence and trust will continue to be important as technical legal knowledge, and perhaps most important of all will be the ability and willingness to embrace change. Not just change that occurred in the past, but change that undoubtedly coming in the years ahead. However, the words of Thomas Jefferson, the study of law is useful in a variety of points of view. It qualifies a man to be useful to himself, to his neighbors, and to the public, will continue to hold good for generations to come. Law will continue to be a great profession for all times to come. And lastly, I would be remiss if I accepted this award, like for most of us, without mentioning my early journey in learning the ropes with the meticulous and exceptional Mr. Jyoti Sagar and my mentor, senior partner, Shiv Priyananda at JSA, my colleagues at Interglobe who have helped me reach this far, and above all, the institution created by my promoter, Mr. Rahul Bhatia, by making legal function as a powerhouse within the Interglobe organization, which personally helped me to spread my wings into a huge commercial role beyond the legal function and grow from strength to strength, growing and learning with each challenge that has been entrusted to me. On behalf of the awardees, I like to finally conclude that this is a huge professional recognition to all of us, and it will continue to inspire us to work hard with a single-minded focus and determination in building corporate India to its highest ethical, legal, and governance standards. Thank you once again, and I wish you a great weekend ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Nina ma'am, for sharing those pioneering thoughts for all of us on behalf of all the recipients as well. It's indeed been an evening filled with happiness and collective inspiration transcending across the screens. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, may I now humbly request our esteemed chief guest for the day, Honorable Minister Shri Hardeep S. Puri, Union Minister of State, Independent Charge for Housing and Urban Affairs, Union Minister of State, Independent Charge for Civil Aviation, and Union Minister of State for Commerce and Industry to kindly address the August gathering with his valuable words. Thank you, sir. Over to you.
Dr. Lalit Bhasin, President of the Society of Indian Law Firms, office bearers and members of SILF, Legal Era, the Federation of Indian Corporate Lawyers, the awardees, members of the legal fraternity, ladies and gentlemen, let me at the outset express my personal gratitude to Dr. Bhasin for having me invited to participate in this event. In the interest of full disclosure, and even at the risk of perhaps sharing something which I should not, let me start by saying that I always wanted to be a lawyer. But the compulsions of the Indian middle class and the need to find employment quickly after one's formal education, only the first phase, because I think education is a continuous process, resulted in my taking the UPSC examination at a relatively young age, and I ended up spending 39 years as against the maximum of 36 or so as a member of the Indian Foreign Service. I think Dr. Bhasin has been very formal when he traced my association with some of you to 2009. I think that association goes back much longer. I see some of you on the screen. I have known many of you, and some of you especially, for at least decades before that. And I also want to make another statement up front, that some of my closest friends are lawyers, and when I speak to them, I always tell them that in the next life, I want to exchange places with them. I want to do what they are doing, and I want them to do what I am doing. Not only because of the number of hours I have to work, and not only because I think the salary scales are inversely related, but this is all in good humor. Let me share with you why I personally think today's event is important, because the people that you are honoring, those whom you recognize and honor through these awards, in many ways, they perform a very important function in the entire legal edifice which underpins our democracy. Now, I have to be very careful with my words, because the association with 3 ministries, I found many of the general counsels who were honored today belong to economic entities with which my ministry and my responsibilities are directly associated, including, if I may say, the lady who spoke on behalf of the awardees, airport operators, and several others. Now, that India is a robust democracy is a given. That we are the world's largest democracy is also a given. That we are a fairly, and again I have to choose my words carefully, fairly indisciplined people is also given. When I passed the university and I had to find employment to sustain myself and to respond to my lower middle class compulsions, there were very few people per professions that somebody who did well in the university could look to. Dr. Bhasin is my senior, and we went to the same college. Of course, if I had come in touch with him earlier, and if he had told me that, join my law firm and don't worry, whatever little the government pays you, we'll look after. One or two people did that. But, the security of wanting to work for the government, the fact that you had predictability, salary would come in on time, whether you did any work or not, that was the psychology. Lawyers, even the very bright ones, spent the first few years without too many briefs, and then went on, of course, to score great successes. And some of them are my closest friends, and they are leading luminaries in the legal profession. But I think that the role of the general counsel or the in-house counsel and the growth of that segment of your profession grew with the expansion in the economy. I remember prior to the first set of reforms, which I placed at 1991, we were a very inward-looking economy. But when we started adopting outward-oriented postures, globalization, interaction with foreign economic entities which were coming here to invest, then the law firms started acquiring a personality, a gravitas, and people started billing high amounts. Some of them are my closest friends. And I think there are certain challenges you still have, whether you want foreign law firms to come, etc. I don't want to tread into that territory. I get mixed sort of inputs coming in. But I think that law firms and the general counsels, they are now an integral part of any organization. They play a decisive role in day-to-day matters, confronting trade, commerce, and industry, be it compliance with various laws and regulations, project planning, and the growth and advancement of the organization. It's an open secret these days. The Council of Ministers has been having long meetings with the Chief Executive, the Honorable Prime Minister, and many of the issues that you are addressing, compliance, for instance, is very high on his agenda, both in terms of what we have to do as a government in order to secure, easy, we don't need to get people fill up all manner of forms, etc. How to create a general atmosphere which is benign, which generates ease of doing business. And I think all of you play a very important role. You and the chartered accountants, I know some of you are particularly fortunate. You have both law firms and chartered accountant firm. Chartered accountants has in close proximity. But that reflects the business dynamism. When I joined the Indian Foreign Service in 1974, I shudder to think what the economic landscape was. When I became a joint secretary and I went through the first phase of economic liberalization, I mean, we're still a small economy. Today, pre-COVID, we were a $2.89 trillion economy, and we are poised to grow to become a $5 trillion economy by 2024-25 and a $10 trillion economy by 2030. Now, given the fact that 50% of our GDP is in the external sector, which is representing the value of goods and services exported and imported and the value of remittances, I think the legal profession is one profession which will always do well. See, when you become a $5 trillion economy, you need more law firms, you need more this thing. And by the way, I mean, I'm amongst friends, so I can tell you, we are naturally a very litigious lot. I mean, give people half a chance and they will go for litigation. So the lawyers are going to do well. But the general counsel and the in-house counsel, I think, have a special role to play. They are very important stakeholders in the determination of the kind of society we want to evolve into. I hear all manner of things. The economy has gone down. I was just now with my senior colleague, Mr. Piyush Goyal, when he addressed, and I was with him, a press conference. The general discussion is, you know, COVID has happened, this has happened, that has happened. I want to share one highlight of that press conference. In the first quarter of this year, that is April, May, June, our exports have been the highest ever in our history, $95 billion. I still think in billion of dollars, 7,000 crore. In one quarter, we did 7,000 crores plus of exports. Now, these figures don't mean anything to anyone, so let me give you a comparison. If you remember, as a result of the first wave of the pandemic, we closed down the economy with effect from, I think, around 25th March of 2020. There was virtually no economic activity in April, May, and then we revived a little bit in June. As a result of which, all our detractors, and some of them very eminent lawyers whom you guys have also encouraged, who now are part of the political opposition, they said, tabahi ho gayi, economy has contracted 23.9%. And I used to say, bhai, that 23.9% contraction has to be seen in terms of the context. If the whole economy is closed down, how will you not get it? But look at what happened after that, the sharp V-shaped recovery. So today, when I say that we've had the highest exports in any quarter equivalent to $95 billion, what am I comparing it to? I'm comparing it with the highest figure in the previous period, which in this case happens to be 2018 and 19. I am only making this general point to say that, look, all is not hunky-dory, but the economy is vibrant. The democracy is very strong. We are the only country in the world which can include and absorb the criticism from within and still retain our strong democratic credentials. Democracy is more than a faith. It is something, and you can criticize people individually, you can criticize their policies, nobody does that. But when people start crossing the line and start utilizing, establishing, that's when you guys come in again. And I'm so proud to say that the legal profession by and large has held its own. It has been able to subserve and encourage the basic requirements that there are in a democracy of making sure we keep getting anchored in the rule of law. Now, I know you can say that insofar as the judiciary is concerned, well, pendencies, all these things, that's not what we are discussing today. We are discussing how young people, young professionals, people whom you have awarded, whom you have recognized today, how they are contributing. And I think it warms my heart to see such professional excellence being awarded. Now, I have some written notes. I'm not going to go back to them. What is the government doing? This is not just a task of, having 303 elected members in the Lok Sabha, but there are some transformational changes. If you see what we have done in terms of our basic things, the introduction of the goods and services tax, the insolvency and bankruptcy code, to mention just a few, the fact that we need to be able to gain inner strength. Those export figures are only one aspect of it. Surely the COVID pandemic has taught us that when the history of this world is written, it will be a pre-COVID period and a post-COVID period. One of the things we have to do is to ensure that we are no longer vulnerable in terms of supply chains, that we diversify. And the world is seeking that same assurance. The world also wants a reassurance. This is where India comes in. This is where Atmanirbharta comes in. Equally, pieces of the constitution. I mean, when my father-in-law was assisting Dr. Ambedkar at that stage, he had pointed out then by 370 is something that's going to trouble you. But it required a Prime Minister of the commitment of Shri Narendra Modi, that 370, which everybody realized was a temporary measure, that we were able to deal with that, and 35A, etc. So all I can say again, and to conclude, because what the legal profession does, what the government does, and what the judiciary does as part of the larger democratic functioning, along with a free press, etc., they all strengthen each other. And I think many of us, I'm older than some of you, not all of you, but I can tell you it's been a fascinating experience. My lament about not becoming a lawyer, in some respects, I got over it. I think the young lady who was speaking on behalf of the awardees quoted some lawyer. You know, I had the privilege of serving in Geneva on 3 occasions. And there is a guru on international trade law. His name is John Jackson. He was a professor, I think, at Georgetown University. And he wrote a textbook on international trade law. And one of the quotes in there is, anybody who wants to have his sanity impaired should try to master trade law or the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, or WTO. Well, I can tell you, I can't say whether I mastered it, but I have a record of any Indian citizen, and it may be anywhere in the world also, of the maximum number of WTO and GATT dispute panels I've done. And this is, I stopped 5 years ago because I'm a minister now. I was part as a youngster of the European Union, United States panel on PASTA, agricultural subsidies. I was chairing the steel panel on dispute between the EU and the United States. And I keep telling Mr. Luthra, who has a big, painting of some, or he's actually sitting in some hill station, Rajiv, that, he or the rest of you spend more attention on what is happening outside on those cases. Because alcohol, I chaired the dispute between US, Canada, and Europe against Japan on the taxes on alcoholic beverages. I think I'm not telling you this to impress you, that I made up for not becoming a lawyer by specializing in trade law. I'm telling you that there is a great opportunity out there. And Indian law firms should not be India-centered. Some of you have got the resources. You should have offices in Geneva. I've been encouraging that since I was ambassador there. You should have offices in New York. You should have tie-ups, because I'm going back to civil aviation as an analogy. The value of business between India and the United States on the direct route, Dr. Bhasin, is $7 billion. $7 billion. And the Indian share of that business is only 17%. So all I'm saying is, the lady who spoke, to tell her boss, get more wide-bodied aircraft, fly the direct route from Delhi to New York. You'll get the business. Otherwise, what will happen? Other people come and take a business. So that's my message to the law firms also. Dr. Bhasin, thank you very much for having me over this afternoon. And I said I've digressed from my notes, but I get always inspired seeing very bright interlocutors who are serving such a useful purpose. And thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. And God bless all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir, for sharing your powerful words of wisdom and also sharing across those candid experiences in your words. Most importantly, sir, thank you very much for gracing the occasion as our chief guest, because all your valuable words from your experiences and your expertise, it truly helps us also pave the way forward or create that roadmap forward for us as a fraternity. So thank you once again, sir, for joining us this evening. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, may I now please invite on the screen Mr. Rohit Kochar, Chairman Kochar and Company, one of the most reputable law firms of India, having global presence in the other parts of the world, such as US and Singapore. May I please invite Mr. Kochar to share his thoughts with us all.
Honorable Minister Shri Hardeep Singh Puri, I will come to expressing our gratefulness later, but just picking up from what you spoke, I wanted to say that the Indian legal profession is much poorer than you did not join us. Of course, we are much richer this afternoon that you're in the midst of us. Let me also say I'm speechless after hearing your speech, because you were so articulate, you covered so many areas seamlessly, and a lot of what you spoke resonated with me. Before I touch upon that briefly, I do want to say that, and this is not flattery, sir, if you had joined the Indian legal profession, you would have been the greatest lawyer today in the Supreme Court and also the highest paid. If it is any consolation, let me say that the respect, the admiration, the popularity that you have won, not only amongst the Indian legal profession, but the masses at large in our country, is so valuable that no senior counsel in the Supreme Court, and not the best and the greatest Indian lawyer, could have achieved that. Sir, I completely agree with you that we should not just sit back and lament about what COVID has done to us. And I've actually tried to follow in my own way the philosophy that you shared with us. Let me say that the last 1.5 years has been the busiest period of my life. While I'm safely ensconced in the Kocher Dubai office these days and working out of here, but I have never worked on larger number of files than I have in the last 18 months or so. And sir, I do believe what you mentioned, when the going gets tough, then the tough get going. And I've practiced that and feel very inspired by your words this afternoon. Sir, on behalf of the Society of Indian Law Firms, each of the awardees, and the Indian legal fraternity, I would like to express our gratitude for your gracious presence this evening. I know how demanding your schedule is, and just your presence with us today has been a great source of encouragement and motivation for all of us. And I can tell you, after hearing you, I can also say a boost to the entire legal profession. And sir, I also feel inspired in that we will endeavor to spread our footprint outside India more than we have. If I take my humble organization, the Kocher Law Firm, we are today in 8 cities in India, in Dubai, Singapore, and Chicago. But I take your point about Geneva and New York, and we shall work on that as well. Sir, a heartfelt thanks to you. I would love to meet you in person when I'm back in India and when your schedule permits. But many, many thanks once again. To the awardees, I want to say many congratulations. I've known many of you for several years. I've had the pleasure of working with a few of you, and in fact, some of you very, very closely. And I can say, based on personal experience, that each of the awards today is very well deserved. Friends, we always talk about how Indian lawyers are second to none. And based on my humble experience of 35 years in the profession, I do want to say that I have found this to be true, whether it's our litigation lawyers in the Indian courts, whether it's senior lawyers and even mid-level lawyers, and even our junior lawyers in the law firms in India, or it is the general counsels and the legal heads in Indian corporations. And when I say Indian corporations, not just purely domestic companies, but also Indian subsidiaries of multinationals. And I know that many of the awardees today are from companies which have foreign parents, but are managing their legal functions in India in a very decentralized manner. My very good friend Rajiv Chopra spoke about the evolution of the Indian legal profession and also the evolution of the role of general counsels in India. I do want to say that I've really been struck by the way legal heads, general counsels in our country have evolved, adapted, and attuned not only to become commercial lawyers, but also to embrace the highest global standards of the legal industry. So really, kudos to all of you. I will borrow words of my other good friend, Jyoti Sagar, to say I salute all of you. Well done. We're very proud of you, not only for the contribution that you have made to your respective organizations, but also to the Indian economy as a whole, because the roles you perform in your respective companies have a direct or an indirect nexus with how the economy performs as a whole. So thank you very much. Well done, and keep marching forward the way you have been. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I don't want to take away from the I could say very inspiring concluding remarks. I think Rohit ji has been too kind to me, but I just want to share with you one message. You know, when I studied at Hindu College in Delhi University, I had somebody who was my mentor. He's much older than me. He was teaching in the university then. He just sent me a message. He's in the United States, so it must be pretty early in the morning. And he said, I heard you at SILF. I enjoyed it, but you forgot to mention, this is my guru telling me, but you forgot to mention you and I joined the law faculty of Delhi University when you were an undersecretary and I was teaching in Hindu College. But you know, because of work, both of us didn't complete. We just went and attended some classes. So my sincerity in terms of wanting to be a lawyer, Rajiv Luthra is laughing away because I've told him this many times. I said, exchange places with me. But seriously, but Rohitji, thank you very much. I think today's experience, I must say I was a little difficult with my colleagues who wanted my time for this because, you know, they said, do you have the time? I said, I want to do it. And I can say at the end of it, I am very, very happy that I gave the time. I'm being shouted at by others to go to the next one. But thank you very much, Lalitji and Rohit, for your concluding comments. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And
Thank
sir,
you, sir.
at the cost of being repetitive.
Thank you. Hardeep, may I just add one thing on behalf of Society of Indian Law Firms, and that is to convey to you in your official capacity as also Minister of State for Commerce and Industry, that the Society of Indian Law Firm is not at all opposed, you see, to the entry of foreign law firms in India. We have taken this stand, which is consistent with the stand taken by the Ministry of Commerce, that let them come, because as Rohit said, Indian legal profession is now second to none. Therefore, we can face competition, and it's a healthy competition, and we would be welcoming, you see, everyone. I just wanted to convey to you. Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, I must admit what an evening it's turned out to be. But one final time, can we have a huge round of applause for all our recipients for this evening, for all our wonderful dignitaries who joined us, who shared their valuable nuggets of insights. There's a wonderful saying by Vladimir, the Russian revolutionary, that there are decades where weeks happen, and then there are weeks where decades happen. While the pandemic definitely made us experience that, I must also say that thanks to technology, we've all managed to connect like this, at the same time celebrate in a more real avatar. So thank you so much again. Thank you for inspiring us. And thank you to all our dignitaries for this evening. Thank you once again to our Honorable Minister, Shri Hardeep S. Puri, for being our chief guest for the evening. And thank you. We wish you all health and great safety. Thank you and take care. We hope to meet you in person next year. Thank you once again.
Thank you.